question was, what percent goes down? And I didn't want it just going down, and I wanted to be able to come back up, because if it goes down and it doesn't come up, that's automatically how much? 100%. So I wanted students to think, well, maybe not, if it comes back up. But if I wanted them to write some evidence, make a chart, maybe do, an average would not be necessary, everybody found 100%. And you're right, with the question that I had, you were able to answer it with just observations. But if I wanted them to have that component, what would I need to do?
Then you have them script their observation.
I don't like to give something I don't feel is necessary. If the students don't have value in what you're doing,
why are you asking for something more than what we just gave you?
Because maybe I need to change the question.
Right, but you asked
For what I have for this question, the observations are correct. So if I want them to do more, I want them to write their trials, I want them to measure, I want them to do something, would I need to change the question?
You may need to change the lesson.
Maybe. Like I said, this was a lesson we brought on the fly.
And how much engagement do you want? Because like they invested 21 trials, we did maybe 4. You did 2 and I did. You did 2 and I did 2, and we knew the answer.
And you knew the answer.
So we were done, you know. So that's kind of.
So what I would do with this lesson, if I were going to go back to my 6th grade classroom, is I would look at, is that an integral component of what I want? Yes. But I might extend the question. What factors made a difference? How do you know? I would like you to try these different things. And I would make the lesson a lot more extensive and a lot deeper. But just coming in, like I said, I came in out of the fly. And when you come into a teacher's classroom, this may be what you see. Was it a bad lesson because there wasn't anything written down and people finished early? No. The lesson was great.
So, when you first gave this to us, the lesson that I probably would have used if I really wanted to use that mechanism, yo-yo, I probably would have had them do time trials and giving them like different intervals. So either each individual or group, or however you want to break them up. And so they would be, all right, so how many full up and down motions can you make in 10 seconds, 15, 20, I would have everybody do the same amount when the person counts. So then they can plot their data, then they take their data and make a bigger one so that everybody gets involved in the same lesson. You know, and then depending on what level of proportional reasoning each one use, we could probably have the lesson start from kindergarten all the way at least to algebra. So, but then kids are collecting, analyzing, identifying, and doing all kinds of stuff.
Remember too that this was a lesson on percents.
I understand.
Yeah, and then I probably would extend it from there. So I would go back to when I have an off period, which meetings and everything else, I would probably sit down and think about this lesson and look at how could I extend the lesson. I've done the percent, which was my main focus. What else can I do to this lesson to make it a little bit richer?
So,
and probably that would be...
Can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
And I get what you're saying, but I mean, I think there's probably my opinion. You know, so I'm a believer of like saying and stuff, and one of them is if it doesn't fit, don't force it. And I mean, that just seems like a stretch. And I think if you wanted to show proportional reason for percentage or anything you want to do, there's probably some other ways.
Like I said, this was something that I came up with on the fly.
May I add something? One of my professional readings I did last night before I fell into the bed was this educational week. So, you know, some of those. And one of the suggestions was called Try It Out Thursdays. So that there's no walkthroughs. So if the teacher wanted to try something, then that would be the day they would do it. Personally, as a teacher, I would rather have an ability to say to my principal, I want to try out something this period. And quite frankly, as a teacher, I wouldn't care whether they came in here and try it out or not. When I was teaching, my door was always open. And there was, in fact, when they first had the teacher appraisal system in my building, we had 2,500 students in Lawrence High School. Guess who they practiced on? And I didn't care, you know. I wanted, there was not a problem with them coming in and me not doing something that they were doing perfect.
So that's a cultural thing to set up.
Absolutely.
So
That's
that
my
people-
point.
So that people understand that the feedback is not about being punitive, but about being
Exactly.
constructive. And
That's
that's-
exactly what I'm saying.
And so, I mean, if that's the manner in which people are working from, then that's a leadership issue.
Absolutely. And that's my point.
Right, but I mean,
Mhm.
I would like to think from this room, will work from that perspective. So you want to improve.
I would too, because I have worked with a lot of them. But that is so important for teachers to be able to feel they've got that support, I guess, at your back kind of thing, you know, yeah, I'm gonna try out something. Absolutely.
But I guess
But
what
for
I'm
the most
saying
part, I'm gonna be
is that,
successful.
but you can try some stuff out without having to, so to speak, crash and burn while your kids are trying to figure out, while you're trying to figure it out. Because that level of chaos is not conducive to learning. You can try out a lesson, you know, 'cause I've done that too before, where I'm gonna try something out, but it was something that I had read and I thought was a pretty good idea, you know, but it was something that, all right, I tried it out with the class, but it also made sense. And so, you know, I'm with you on that. If you're gonna work on the fly, that's why you try to meet with your colleagues so that these pitfalls that are there and that will cause you to lose your classroom, especially when it's not a group of, you know, 10 or so highly, I would say highly educated, just from the academic sense. When you're dealing with a bunch of 14-year-olds who don't have a mechanism that works, now they've already gone back to their phones, they've gone back to having side conversations, and they're substituting non-academic tasks for what's at hand. And so they should try, but that's how they improve. But there's also a certain level of, I would say, of collegiality that needs to exist, so that if things are not working, it's like finding your technology out rather than walk into the classroom. And it takes you 10 minutes to get that going. That's different than making sure you're prepared when you walk in, and then you have a power outage or something goes wrong there. Because I've seen that exact thing happen, and I'm asking the teacher why they didn't check that all that worked beforehand. And I'm going to pull them out of the closet, you know, game time. And so, but I mean, again, the way you facilitate that conversation is different. You sit down with them and just ask. So they have an understanding that, all right, I dropped the ball on this one. I should have checked before we started to make sure that all this was correct. But like I said, hopefully.
It's interesting too, as we presented this, one of my internal questions was, does it matter what the quality of the yo-yos? It does matter. Absolutely.
So, the point I wanted to make with that is when you get a purchase order for 15 Dunkin' yo-yos, along with the lesson plan that they're intending to use, or anything, any manipulative that's going to be used, just remember it's the quality also. I can run to Party City and buy these without having to get reimbursed, but I can't order from Dunkin'. And I don't know, a lot of times I'm going to be doing this at the beginning of the school year when the budgets are due. So be flexible, put some money in, so that these things.
We've had some conversations in years past about, particularly science, because you know, all of a sudden you're gonna need eggs or whatever. I've gone to the cafeteria pressure many times for things. But to be able to go to the store that night and for the next day. And so different schools, different districts have different procedures, you know, and so, in fact, even at Lori's school, it came up that the teachers were complaining about they couldn't get reimbursed for the stuff they needed. And the AP's there and said, well, yes, you can, you just do yada yada. So this was at the STEM school.
And the secretary says no.
Well, that's a different issue, but the point is, there has to be, that kind of conversation and that procedure set up, particularly for science, because of, you know, things we need the next day, HEB stuff, so. Thank you.
So, in conclusion, after first period did this, I would be jumping and trying to fix for second period. And hopefully by third period, I've got it a little more down. But if you happen to come in at first period, my conversation to you would be, I had this wild idea and I wanted to try it. Did it do what I wanted? Well, everybody came up with 100%. Probably not. There may have been, like Luciano said, there are better mechanisms and better things to use, but I wanted to try this. And I think I can extend this to make it a good lesson. And that would have been my conversation with my administrator. So, things on the fly, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I will never harm my students. I will never teach them something they wrong that I know of. So my administrators trust me on that. And they know that, okay, this one didn't work, we'll try another one. We'll come back again.
But you have that credibility.
Right.
You have 100% pass rate on Algebra 1.
Right.
And so you build that credibility, and the more you build the credibility, because the principal's been in your classroom, and they see the good learning that's going on, et cetera, then that gives the teacher more freedom.
But I'm also not afraid to try anything. I will try anything. And do I have to think it completely through? I try to, but sometimes I don't. I remember driving. I was living in Dallas and I was teaching in Louisville. And I was doing integers with 7th grade. And I had all these workshops, all these worksheets copied, and we were just gonna start going through them and let them practice. And as I'm driving, the 12 minutes it took to school, I said, I don't want to do these worksheets. I can tell you my kids don't want to do these worksheets. And I came up with, on my drive, a game called Integer Spades, which I have presented several times at camp. And the last time I presented this was 10 years ago, and I had over 200 people attending each session. And it's still used in my district today. And it took a little bit of tweaking and a little bit of things, but the kids knew their integers. So I count that one as a success, something that I came up with in 12 minutes. It happens. Sometimes it doesn't.
And it wasn't a worksheet. Thank
It was
you,
not.
Lord.
No. No, but it had reference material that they could look at and say, oh, a -10 is smaller than a -1. Oh my gosh, so the -1 wins. Oh my gosh. So amazing.
Awesome, thank you. The other part of all of this, the rich discussion is phenomenal. And in learning, we have to give ourselves time, you know, and we keep talking about time, we keep talking about time. We can't skip this part. This part is where the deep learning comes. And it's true for us as administrators, it's true for teachers, it's true for kids. You have to have time to analyze it and think about it and disagree about it and say, well, could we do this a different way, whatever. And that's the collaboration, the collegiality, because they pretty much diametrically opposed on how they would use the yo-yo. I learned a ton. I also figured out maybe you can't go to Target and buy yo-yos. Yeah.
And I would ask my students. I've done that before. I've said, boy, this was a really bad lesson, what would you say? What could we do? And the kids would come up with all kinds of things. And then when it appears in the lesson down the road, they're like, I thought of this. Yeah, you had a good idea. And I do that.
I'm gonna have you guys move your stuff. Okay, this next thing we're going to do, very quickly, this is a stand-up thing. I'm going to be passing out.
Remember, if you participate in an activity, you get to keep the material.
Exactly, so you get to,
Except
you
the-
each can have a yo-yo. Have enough yo-yos. All right, I will give you yo-yos before lunch. Right now, we have not really even talked about the principal standards, but the outline that you got was in the principal standards. You obviously have to be aware of the principal standards for the state of Texas. Otherwise, you can't be doing the job that you're doing because you're gonna be evaluated on this, right? So, the stuff that we have done in Mix actually supports your principal standards. And especially that Enhance and PED chart that we've done all the research on, and that, what are best practices and what really enhances your job and being able to do it, and what impedes the learning of students. So, I believe there's, let's see, I'm not gonna make you do this, because you probably, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 22 of these, so you each get 3. So when I say go, we're gonna come around to the inside, and I want you to place your Enhance and PED row on the standard that you think it fits. So here's standard 2, here's standard 1, here's standard 3, here's standard 4, and here's standard 5, okay? So you need 3, and then I believe it will be time for lunch. Oop. I divided wrong. It should be 2. Thank you. I'm not a math major, shush.
I didn't say anything.
No, you didn't have to. It was the nonverbal. He's like, "Good, we'll do that." I'll let her figure it out. Yes.
I was trying to figure that out.
You want it? Okay. You get one. You get an extra one. You get an extra one. And you get an extra one. Okay. I do the same thing all the time.
This was more than the last one.
Okay, go. Go to the center with your little pieces. Oh, what part is there?
Go on.
That's all I just. Oh, is that what this is right here?
No, just
Oh,
the.
exactly. So she only gave it, we're supposed to go send one handouts, right? Yes.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Not fun, not fun.
It's too easy.
I know, but I think that's good. And we just went over this, the city evaluation standard. Yeah.
Oh, so you're very familiar with it.
And then I had easy ones. Thank you. I think I'm right.
Whichever.
Yes, this is lesson plans and stuff
can decide which standard fits under. Yeah. It does fit everything, that's exactly it.
There's so much overlap.
Yes. Hello, yes.
There's so much overlap. So you guys have got your.
Okay, while you're standing there, are you almost finished, Ross? Okay. Sure.
Yeah, but it's still. So you may not be an instructional leader, but you
Okay, debrief. You may stand or sit. We're just gonna do this very quickly.
do math.
Okay. Dr. Mills. Okay. Ross and Luciano, right here. I need you in earshot. Nice try, though. Nice try. Okay, quickly. Why did you put the enhance and impede where you put it? What did you notice when you were trying to do all this?
I was looking for keywords that would match up with what I have.
Okay, all right. You're
Oh
looking for
boy,
keywords.
this is different.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what. So,
This is not what we predicted.
okay, no, it's not at all. What else were you thinking? I heard you say, well, I can't decide where it fits because and I heard overlap, and I heard, what were you saying?
It does, because several of them could fit in different areas.
Right. Absolutely, absolutely. So, what we've discovered in the research is it covers multiple standards. And depending on what your focus is for your campus, will depend on which standard it fits under. So, the enhance impede fits for general good leadership. Whether it's leadership under the standard 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, it fits under good science instructional leadership, it fits under good math instructional leadership, it fits. So the enhance impede is more how we do what we do. This would be the core of what we do. We'll talk more about that, okay? We have, and I'm gonna just leave this here, the prediction that I ended up with was what you guys had blamed on the district. I put in standard 1, which is the campus. Yeah, so I think it's a perception of whose decision is it? And that's partly what it tells me is you believe that the district is deciding for you. I'm believing that you have the power to decide for yourselves. So that's what we're gonna talk about after this, right? So go get your lunch, it's down in the, whatever you call it.
Break room
The
or
break
whatever.
room. Kind of clear your space so that you can eat comfortably because I have a video that I wanna show and then we'll discuss. So this is truly a working lunch.
Is he mad?
No, he would tell you, he would answer.
You may.
You can't go first, but you could go last.
Okay, I'm gonna test this out while I go.
6 days.
You don't know when you're older. I've never heard of sound of that speaker unless you've been on a conference
It's
call.
not on my speaker, I think it's up in here.
No, it came right
Came out of there?
That's interesting. Running out of days.
Oh, I hooked
Yeah,
it
that's
up.
how we do conference calls, so when we're having thesis or dissertation committee meeting, and one person is off and
Very cool.
not
Is
here.
this recyclable?
Yes.
Okay.
It should be at Starbucks.
Okay, I'm gonna turn the lights off too so we can really.
TED Talks.